The Dallas Cowboys lost their opening home game and lost their starting quarterback for 6 to 8 weeks. Have they already lost their season? It was a season filled with good vibes, promise, and tons of presumed on-field talent. Notably on the defensive end of the ball, the Cowboys spent and nurtured a lot of time and money on building a defense that would hopefully lift the Super Bowl trophy, or at the very least beat a 45-year-old Tom Brady. The entire identity of this defense is built on the shoulders of the incredibly talented linebacker Micah Parsons. The 6'3", 245-pound tackling machine is now in his second season after having been named the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. A lot of pressure and weight are on his tall shoulders to eclipse that accomplishment, but also because he plays for America's team. Parsons was the only shining hope last night against the Buccaneers, where he recorded 4 solo tackles that amounted to a loss of 17 yards. He is the only player on the Cowboys defense that managed to push back the Bucs' attack. He had some help fending off Tampa's passing game thanks to 2 pass deflections from cornerback Trayvon Diggs and 1 key interception from safety Donovan Wilson. Both were sensational at keeping Tom Brady's Bucs from the end zone for most of the game. Parsons, Diggs, and Wilson were the only ones playing with grit and determination when all seemed unbearable given the relentless nature of the Bucs' offense. The Cowboys trio dug deep and summoned the brute strength lurking in their talents to keep the Bucs from scoring a touchdown. They were doing their part to stay above water even though the Bucs had 4 field goals in the first half. 4 3-pointers is better than 4 6-pointers, but still it wasn't a display of a terrifying defense like the one which was witnessed in the latter half of last season. The defense's average performance compared to their star-studded talent wasn't due to a lack of effort, but to a deflated nature from what was happening on the other side of the ball. The offense must shoulder the blame for the Cowboys' loss. It was a display not worthy of the uniform. To illustrate their total impotence and flatness, let's take a look at the wide receiver stats. The most glaring was from star wideout CeeDee Lamb. He was targeted a team-high 11 times and only caught the ball twice for 29 yards. That is 9 times the Bucs were able to deny Dallas's supposedly best wide receiver. And can he even go back to the locker room, look himself in the mirror, and be at peace with this claim that he is the best receiver on this team when a regular backup player like Noah Brown, who has been with the Cowboys since 2017, caught the ball 3 more times and had nearly 40 more yards? In fact, the entire wide receiver unit should be checking themselves after such a lackluster performance, when the 4 wideouts combined for a total of 11 catches for 125 yards. Now, to put that into perspective, the Bucs running back Leonard Fournette rushed for 127 yards. Those wide receivers couldn't beat Fournette. It's ghastly and shocking that an elite franchise invested so much into this football team and still has a wide receiver core that's not dragging in average numbers, let alone elite ones. The only glimmer, slight sliver of hope from that performance against the Bucs was at the tight end position, where Dalton Schultz did play his role by grabbing 7 catches off of 9 targets and had 62 yards. The fact that we're referencing Dalton Schultz as a highlight sort of explains how inefficient and weak the receiving production was for the Dallas Cowboys. The only reason Schultz's 62 yards from 7 catches is a highlight is because there are none other to speak to. But what about Zeke Elliott and his running production? A similar, if not equally, putrid display of mediocrity and flatness from the once prominent darling in Dallas. Ezekiel Elliott has been with the Cowboys franchise since 2016 and has picked up numerous personal awards and posted career numbers that would be worthy of a Hall of Fame selection. But not based on the evidence from last night. Elliott ran the ball for 52 yards for 10 attempts, which is a decent 5.2 yards per carry, but he had no touchdowns. He caught the ball once but lost 3 yards in the process, and it is possible that any other running back would be able to put up those numbers, but Elliott is working with an offensive line that is average in the league. He no longer has the privilege and pleasure of having run blockers from an elite O-line, and he's on the old side when it comes to running backs. Usually the best time to acquire a running back is when he's 24 years old. Ezekiel Elliott turned 27 in July. Elliott needs to join his wide receiver teammate and look in the mirror. There needs to be a deep introspection about how to be a running back at that age in the fast-pacing NFL. No one is slowing down for anybody, and if you are, you'll only manage 10 carries a game. Not enough has been said about the limited amount of carries, but I do suspect that's due to the overall nature of the game plan, since the Bucs were up 12-3 at halftime and then up 19-3 in the third quarter. There's a temptation to not blame everything on Ezekiel Elliott, but as a starting running back for the Dallas Cowboys, he should accept that he needs to be more productive and energetic. In defense of Elliott, there's only one person who should shoulder the blame, and can you guess who that is? Quarterback Rain Dakota Prescott, or Dak Prescott for short. The Cowboys QB has been in Dallas since the same time as Ezekiel Elliott, but after a solid season in 2021, where he threw for 4,449 yards and had 37 touchdowns, Dak was whack against the Bucs. He threw the ball 29 times and only had a passing completion percentage of 48.3 for 0 touchdowns and 1 interception. Yikes, quite the drop-off from last season's expectations. In fact, it was a performance that merited an arm over the shoulder rather than a screaming lecture on how he is the captain of this team and should lead by example. Dak knows how important this position is for this team in particular. He shouldn't be blamed for the woeful start, but in a manner, he should accept to take the blame. He threw for an interception, he didn't score a touchdown, and to pile on to his misery, he left the field with an injury with a little over 5 minutes to go in the game. He wasn't playing great, or good, or even average. He was struggling, and the injury sort of placed an extra 500 pounds of horror on the dreadful evening. Now, everything that could go wrong went wrong for the Cowboys in their home opener, but does one game make an entire season? On the evidence of the results, it certainly splashes cold water on the faces of those analysts who thought that the Cowboys were going to win the division. They might not even get a wild card spot if they expect to ride the wishy-washy waters of backup quarterback Cooper Rush. Rush came into the game and didn't throw an interception. That's the best thing that can be said about his performance. He made 50% of his throws and walked away being sacked the same number of times as Dak, twice. There's cause for great concern, and the Cowboys don't have the firepower in their offense to score enough points. Their total of 3 points last night at home was the lowest score in the entire NFL on Sunday's slate of games. That's lower than the hapless Jets, the new untested offense of the Falcons, and the Chicago Bears in terrible weather conditions. With Dak Prescott, their leader, now out for at least 6 to 8 weeks, there's cause to push that panic button, but this disaster might be a blessing in disguise. All of this misfortune and chaos happened to the Cowboys in Week 1, so better to know the deficiencies and problems of your team earlier rather than later. It gives the front office time to make some moves, the coaches to sharpen their play-scheming pencils, and for the players to rally behind their fallen leader. There's no greater motivator for a team to use their fallen captain as an idol and symbol to play better and rise against all odds. So do you believe the Cowboys still have a shot, or is their entire season over?